Losing a loved one is difficult. It's emotional and it is physically exhausting. What can make it harder is the probate process that comes afterward. This legal process can be overwhelming and it is entirely avoidable. Hi, I'm Katrina Hofstetter from Cornerstone Legal, and I'm going to share an introduction to the probate process in Michigan. First, let's make sure that we understand what probate is. Probate is generally a court process that determines how your assets are going to pass to your heirs or the individuals named in your will. In Michigan, if someone passes away with property in just their name or without a named beneficiary, the property is going to go through a probate process. This process is going to involve first determining if there's a will, and if so, what that will says, and then gathering information about the decedent's family, other beneficiaries, and their assets. And then there are many probate documents that have to be prepared and filed just to get things rolling. Once those documents are prepared and filed, the probate estate is open, and the individual in charge is going to need to file a notice in the newspaper. That's a publication for creditors. And then there's going to be a process of gathering, consolidating, maybe liquidating assets. There might be some final taxes that have to be completed, maybe taking care of final expenses. And then ultimately, all of the assets are going to be distributed. Now, if there's not a will involved, those assets are going to be distributed based on Michigan law. The next thing I wanted to cover is who's in charge of this entire probate process. Now, if the individual had a will, then they hopefully have appointed someone in that will, and that is the individual that's likely going to be in charge. If the individual doesn't have a will at all, then Michigan laws have an order of priority, and typically this is going to be a surviving spouse first, and then the individual's children. Now, if there's not a surviving spouse and there's no living children, then we're probably going to end up going to the next closest heir. The next thing we're going to cover is kind of generally how long this probate process takes. In Michigan specifically, the minimum is going to be 5 months, but on average, probate administration lasts anywhere from 6 months to a couple of years. Sometimes this can depend on tax filings that might need to be done. And then if there's real estate involved, it can really depend on the market and how quickly something sells. It's also important to understand that in Michigan, there really are two different types of probate. There can be a small estate, and this is based on a low value of assets. And this is a pretty quick and simple process. And then a full probate estate. So that 5-month minimum is for the full probate estate. If the value of the assets is under roughly $50,000 right now, then the small estate can likely be utilized, and that can be done very, very quickly. Now let's talk about costs, because I'm sure that's what you're the most interested in. And this really depends on the type of estate that you're going to open. If we're talking about the small estate, you're still going to pay a fee to open the estate. You're still going to pay an inventory fee. And then you might have to pay a fee for a certified copy of the court document. But overall, you might be able to get a small probate estate open and closed with maybe $500 to $1,000. It really is going to depend on whether or not you need legal help and the overall value of those assets. If you end up having to go with a full probate estate, in addition to all of those same fees for the small estate, you're also going to have to do a publication in the newspaper. There's cost associated with that. And then you may have additional legal fees as well as possibly other professional fees. In conclusion, the probate process in Michigan can be complex. It can be challenging, especially if you are trying to go through this process when you've just lost a loved one. It really can be essential to consult with an attorney, someone who's experienced handling probate administration, and that really helps you get through that process with peace of mind. At the end of the day, taking this one step at a time and relying on knowledgeable support can really make all the difference. Thanks for watching. Call us at 517-708-2222 or email Katrina@cornerstonelegalplc.com to start your journey today.